Hey, welcome back to the mindemo body program. Glad to have you guys as usual. It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. So, we are going to get into more of the body part of the program. And before we do that, I'm going to give you kind of a little backdrop if you don't know me as well, as to kind of what my relationship with fitness and health has been, and kind of, why I feel qualified to be able to share about this and what my thoughts and ideas are. This is just over years of being vegan and studying, and even before that, that's all my experience put together and all that I've learned kind of. Um, so it's my own personal ideas and experience. It's really based off of science, I feel like, but of course, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So um, here's the deal. So ever since I was a kid, I've been pretty athletic, real good, like upper body strength. I mean, lower body strength too, pretty much. I'm kind of shorter, stockier, but pretty athletic and pretty fast. So I was pretty good at sports. That kept me in shape for a while. Um, as into adolescence, I kind of lost all that stuff, and then I had kids really early in my 20s. So I was able to have the babies and kind of bounce back, and I kept a pretty good shape. I fluctuated a lot over the years. And, I mean, when I was 20, I loved like chicken fried steaks and I didn't care. Like most 20-year-olds don't care what they're eating. But then when I had kids, I kind of did. And I was merging in with a pretty healthy family. My family was sort of healthy. I would say healthier than maybe average, but just by a little bit, pretty standard American diet type of thing. So I kept in shape. I wasn't really super fanatic, but again, I kind of considered myself like healthier than, even though again, I too just ate pretty standard. Even into growing up, like we switched to organics when the babies were young, and we had our time, and I still go back and forth eating, can I afford it? Can I not? Definitely not the most important thing when it comes to your food choices. But I mean, if you can afford it, or if you see it for less, sometimes I see it for less. I'll see at Walmart organic food for less price than the regular. So it's amazing how times are a changing. But we are going to get into this. This is going to help. You're going to learn something. You're going to be able to take stuff away from this. And it's, again, kind of everything I've learned. But I was keeping in shape and for the longest time, even into my later adult years, just with some dieting, and sometimes I've never really been good at calorie restriction, as you'll soon find out if you stick along with this program a little bit longer. But yeah, no, a little bit of dieting here and there. I would do a little bit of restriction, but I can never handle it for very long, as I think most people shouldn't even try to. But a little bit's great. A little bit of fasting, a little bit of moderation of stuff like that. Great, good, do it. It'll keep you into those numbers. It'll keep your numbers in a good place. It'll keep your waist in a good place. It'll make you feel better. It literally affects everything. This whole metabolic syndrome, all of it's all connected. Cancer is connected to diabetes. It's all connected to being overweight, being sedentary, added sugars, too much overconsumption of sugars, fats, all of it put together is a horrible mismatch of things you don't want. So if you can just do the bare minimums, you'd be all right. Walk often, walk that dog, walk those kiddos, walk yourself. I mean, once you fall in love with the fresh air, seeing the nature changes, the little changes every day of the seasons, you start to notice things before you would otherwise. If you never go outside, you wouldn't notice that's changing. You start to get more in tune with the seasons. We have even animals across the street, like they know we come outside every single day. So like they used to bark at us and now they don't bark at us. It's kind of like nature bathing. You become one with your environment and your community. It's just cool. You get the fresh air, you get the sunlight, you get the movement. I can't say enough about walking. It's good for your heart. It's good for your health. It's good to keep the calories, the calorie balanced, and it helps burn those calories. So, so prior to after that, there was going vegan, and that kind of helped. Like I shed 15 pounds right away going vegetarian. I think right away, like 15 pounds dropped, and then I lost even more weight going vegan. And I was high carb, low fat vegan, sometimes raw for little short spells, not too long, ever. Not even like a day. Like I did like raw till 4 for a long time, and kind of enjoyed that, but I always thought the too much fruit got to me. Like it was just too much fruit. I would always want to go like after like one meal of good fruit, I'm ready for something else. I don't want to just eat fruit all day, and then I felt like that was a restriction in itself. So, but it served me well, and moving over, I ruffled a few feathers when I moved from high carb to like a lower carb vegan lifestyle. Some people got really upset. I lost friends over it. They just couldn't handle it. And they were like, "You're gonna fail. You're gonna like lose muscle and get fat, I guess is what, or lose muscle or starve." I'm not sure. Obviously, I haven't done either of those two things. But I kind of still keep it a little bit on the lower fat. I'm not like all about fat all the time. I mean, I do eat a lot more fat than I used to, and I'm okay with that, especially as a 40-year-old woman, 41-year-old woman at this point. I need my good fats. And nobody's going to ever take those back away from me because that was my main mistake. And thankfully, I never let my levels get too low. I did get tested and I was like lower than I wanted to be, but I was still fine on not only the level of omega 3s, but the ratio of omega 3s to omega like 6s. So don't forget to supplement, guys. If you're going to do like lower fats, you've got to have your good fats. And the great thing about not only protein, but lower fats, or protein, eating a good amount of protein, but also throwing in there your good fats automatically will starve off hunger. It will fend off hunger for you if you just eat. And it's like you can't really overdo the, and especially if you find yourself, oh, I ate a bunch of nuts, don't be afraid then to pop your extra omega 3 pill to keep that balance. Okay. So things like this, knowing the basics, like just being generally interested in health and learning the basics, supplementing with your B12. I take a probiotic first thing every morning, and then sometimes again before you go to bed. Another one that you can't really, I mean, you don't want to take it all the time. You might get like bloated or something, but before you start eating anything, I always try to do like my probiotic and take an electrolyte too, because again, especially, well, if you're trying to diet or lose weight or anything, like you want to make sure that you have enough salts. And people go away from salts, and you don't have to have a ton of it, but you also don't want to go avoid it. And in the summertime, if you're working out, if you're an athlete, if you're working out a lot at all, you definitely need to have like added electrolytes at least like once a day. So, and if you're getting any kind of cramps, as automatic sign, run to the electrolytes. And sometimes like I like to not take, and I like to do this with everything. Again, we'll talk about this later. Variety. I don't necessarily love. I've got like one favorite electrolyte, but then like the other ones, I don't like to like take only one forever. You know what I mean? Because they're different. You might find that one works better for you, that your body likes one more than the other, or your taste buds like one more than the other. Then I would probably somewhat listen to that. But I think it's good to kind of shake things up as much as possible. And that goes for foods as well. Always get as much variety of food that you can. You don't want to be, and you want to get a good variety of exercise as well. Don't just rely on just walking the dog like I did for so many years, hoping I was somehow going to magically get fit from that. Like, you have to add in a little bit of lifting weights, whether it's your little weights. You start off, with your little weights, and you do more and more, and you just add more every week. It's fun. You track it in whatever way's easiest and most fun for you. Charts online are nice. You can graph stuff out and manipulate the data in different ways. A lot of good apps and stuff like that. I am kind of a paper person, but that's just me with my paper and pen in my hand and stuff. So, but yeah, I've slowly built up over years and years and years. I really had built up my walking, got into some really deep hikes with the dog, kind of in his prime. Oh, Rocky man, he could go and go and go. And then that kind of turned into, well, we'll do that, but we'll also add in a lot more running. And so the running kind of slowly got more consistent over the months, over the days, in and out, up and down, throughout the years, and still fluctuates to this day, but is again getting more consistent and more consistent. So about a year and a half or so, I was running more consistently, and I was kind of getting into trail running, which I loved. And then, I don't know, stuff started happening in my like not in the neighborhood, but in the city. And I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to go all the time running. And something got me off of that. And then I kind of just got into lifting weights, and I was like, oh, where have you been all my life? I should have been lifting weights the whole time. The people who tried to tell me I should have listened. Lift the weights again, even if it's just the small ones. You don't have to lift super, super heavy, but you just want to keep on progressing. You want to add as much muscle mass as possible. It's not going to bulk you up. It's not going to make you look big. It's not going, and you guys, the pictures where people are like, every time I post like a picture of my back, like super flexing as hard as possible after a big pump, after I've just worked out and then like, probably had some caffeine and everything's pumping, the blood's pumping, flowing. That's when people like look at the pictures and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I want to get that big. It's like, wait a second. Or you'll get the comments from the usually older guys who are like, they make some snide comment about how, oh, you could beat me up, or you're getting pretty big there. I even had some one guy, they'll be like, oh, you don't want to get careful, you're not going to get too big. It's like, what if I want to? What's your problem, dude? So, but it's like, it's not always like that, like that's not how your body feels or looks all the time, like at all. So don't worry about that. You would have to really overeat and probably overtrain for a really long time before you would ever even before you would ever think about that at all, even for a second. So even by just looking at a picture when you're flexing, so, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a concern. It actually has health benefits, and people it's a mistake to think that all the health benefits of exercise are on the cardio side, because you've got to have a good balance. And this is what I've really learned, and I've really perfected this over the past few months, even just really nailing it down. You want to have all of the proper amounts of the different kinds of exercise. So basically you go by the zones. So you have your zone 1 through zone 5 usually is how most, I think, systems do it. 1 is your list. Your low intensity, steady state cardio. These are the things you're doing when you're walking around the house. You're putzing around the house, my favorite phrase. You're kind of cleaning, you're tidying, you're brushing your teeth and talking to your on the phone and right? So this could even be when I walk my dog. Sometimes we are going so slow, it does not even count as a walk. You know what I mean? Especially in this heat. But very slow. Your heart rate is going to be, for me, it's like under 111 or something like that. So pretty low. You can talk. You can you're not sitting down. Usually if you're sitting down, maybe you're doing a lot of fidgeting or something, but so level 2, it just gets progressively, highest to like 100% capacity. Highest heart rate would be level 5, which you should only, if you're not a trained athlete, you should only be in that for a few minutes. And I think on the higher side of that, you can do like 8 up to 8 minutes for a few times a week. So for that, I'm like, oh great, running, pretty hard intensity a few times a week. Check that off. There's my level 5. Level 4 and level 3, and even sometimes level 2, those zones can actually be achieved really well with your strength program. And you can kind of up it and lower it when you want to get to a certain number. Maybe I want to hit 150s or 160s every day if I can, unless it's a rest day, that'd be good. So I can do something to get my heart rate up, or work it in. You can do some high intensity or some medium intensity. You could do some jogging. Again, I just like to do some pretty high intensity weightlifting, and that tends to get my heart rate up to those medium levels. That is good. Again, 4 times a week. 4 is my stable, lucky number when it comes to training. And I figured out, what I'll do. Well, I'll tell you guys what I'm switching to, because I've been on this mode where I'm trying to do 5 and even 6 days. Like my program was set up to do like 5 and 6 days a week. And woo, let me tell you, spoiler alert, burnt myself out. I burnt my out. Yes, I did. So, but yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, so walking, hiking led to a little bit jogging, running. I got to some longer runs, and then, I don't know if my knees are the best for that, or the heat, the weather. It's like you can only do it certain times of the year. Again, I still will love a good run, and I like to run to get that high intensity into those level 4s and 5s to get my heart rate up. That has some good benefits. Every level has good benefits for you, and I'm not going to get into what exactly all those benefits are, but you can look it up. Just look up benefits zone 2, benefits zone 3. They each have their own benefit for your performance. More of the performance would be probably level 5s and 4s, but the rest, a lot of good health benefits, and good health benefits for, I think, level 4s and 5s too, just different ways. So anyways, fell in love with the gym, totally switched up everything again. When I turned 40, I was just not interested in really a lot of the high carbs and the way that I had been eating anymore. I think a lot of that, it could have been hormonal, it could have been what I was learning. The mind body connection happens in mysterious ways. That's a whole kind of another story, and I've also talked about that a lot before in my Instagram stories, the old ones if you scroll down and stuff, or the post. So let's go a little bit deeper into kind of why vegan. Vegan is just like, I'm not saying you have to be 100% vegan, but if you want to like have the best body karma and you want to have the best chance to have the best body, it's the best for your health. It just is, hands down. And I can show you studies. I've got a whole link of studies on my link tree. If you scroll down, it's closer to the bottom. You can see study after study that I've collected after year after year after year why it's okay. And it's okay to eat carbs. I'm not saying don't eat carbs, and I'll kind of get to that too. It's okay. I eat carbs. I'm a low carb cycler. It doesn't mean I don't eat carbs. So I love my carbs. I love my freaking sweet potatoes and pumpkins and everything like that, just as much as the next person. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just that I limit them in a way where I am limiting majority of the refined carbs automatically by default. And when I do eat the good healthy carbs, it's at certain periods where they're the absolute best for me, so I can reap the benefits of keto at other stages. And I think it's good to fluctuate in and out, because that's how we've been doing it for centuries, millennia upon millennia. You know what I mean? And I do, with ever since paleo came out, and I've been actually, learning about it and understanding it and like fighting the preconceptions. A lot of my earliest videos, if you go down to when I, 10 years ago when I first started, I learned so much, debunking a lot of the original paleo ideas, that I realized that I figured out that vegan was a actual better way to try to replicate paleo in this day and age. So a lot of research. Again, you can watch a lot of these old videos where I get into the theories, the research, the arguments, and all of that. But I really truly think veganism is best for the environment, especially in this day and age. You look around, Hawaii's burning, everything's burning. There's no freaking excuse to be doing the least efficient thing possible. It literally is the least, especially bigger, like red meat, horrible, the worst for the environment. Nobody should be supporting this anymore. Nobody. And that includes dairy. They go hand in hand together. They are one and the same. Okay? So it helps people, it helps society. We're learning more and more about workers' rights, how these companies, it goes back to early America. Upton Sinclair told us things. Now we're having people telling us new things. These people shining the light, and letting us know, these journalists letting us know, people letting us know the truth of what's going on in these slaughterhouses, what's going on in these slaughterhouses at night, when these underage kids are cleaning these slaughterhouses and hurting themselves. And then if they're foreign and they don't know how to file for workers' comp, do you think their company is really helping them? Their company doesn't give a rat's left foot about them. And that's the sad truth, and it's been the truth. I've got a book I should be linking right here. Ask me about it if you want to know. It's like the modern day Upton Sinclair. Why can't I think of the guy's name? But yeah, you want to get as much variety as possible in your whole foods, plant-based, mostly diet. Do the 80-20 principle, which applies to basically everything in life. The 80-20 bell curve principle, right? Most of 80% of your food should be whole foods, plant-based. Add a lot of raw foods in there. You're going to get a lot of good enzymes, a lot of good spices. If you can do good spices, colorful, do some oranges, do some blues, purples, all the colors of the rainbow, varieties of different types, again, of foods, different types of not only plants, but fungus, things like that you would not, this is the real again, ancestral diet is, we are absolutely opportunist, and we cannot deny that. We really can't deny that, okay? And that's kind of part of what we'll get into talk about too. Um, we got a lot to talk about, lots to still talk about here. So it affects everything, and going vegan, at least going plant-based. Like, I didn't even go vegan at first I went flexitarian, then, and just that was out of convenience because I didn't like dealing with meat. And then I went, when I went vegetarian, like I said, overnight, I did it for environmental reasons after watching Vegucated, the movie documentary. And then later, about 4 months later, I went vegan for my health, pretty much after watching like Durian Rider and, Freely, the Banana Girl, and all of that. And that's why I did that for a really long time. And it was, again, it's successful. And I really still back that diet, that lifestyle, if it works for you. If that more like high carb, it doesn't have to be raw till 4, but more the just the high carb slash mostly whole food plant based, but you can add in your what, I personally would go more for refined or processed foods that are like meats rather than like a lot of the higher carb, like, and just opening yourself up to being able to eat high carb processed is like opening a window where you have like so many choices to eat a bad diet all the time. To me, it's too many. I have to cut it off. Like, it's almost just like convenience. But also it gets deeper than that, why I do kind of the lower carb, but we'll get into that. It's I think it really is kind of, it's deep. It's deep. But it's all important. We're talking about the antioxidants, the fiber, okay, the low saturated fat, the phytonutrients, the enzymes, the probiotics with the microbes, things we don't even know about. We can't even replicate an apple. We can try to say, oh, here's some vitamin C that would be in an apple. Here's some fiber that would be in an apple. Here's some other things that would be in an apple, but they can't take everything in a property of an apple and create it. You've got to get these from these whole foods. So that is, and it's so easy. It's so easy to do. You don't have to go low carb necessarily. You don't have to be super strict about what you eat in any way necessarily. And in fact, starting where you are is always the best. I have a whole playlist on like starting out vegan, and it's a lot. It's always start where you are. And that's where I did. Like I said, I kind of transitioned all these different ways, and it took me months to transition from, a meat eating flexitarian, for we were probably flexitarians for at least 18 months or so, again, because I didn't like to cook. Not only did I not like the germs and just the idea of everything and the way it feels in your fingers, and then you have to clean it, and you got the kids around, and it's dangerous for the kids to have all that meat juice everywhere. What if they're going to lick the counter? You know what I mean? I didn't want that. My kids were brand new, I was like, no. So, and my partner at that time, my baby daddy, was like, if you don't like to touch it and cook it, then you shouldn't eat it. So I was like, fine, I'll just get the frozen stuff that you don't even have to remember to thaw out in the beginning of the day. You could just throw it on, and bam, you've got yourself a nice little roast or whatever. They had some good stuff by then. So we did that. We did the corn ones for years before I ever thought about it. I was like anti going vegan because of the propaganda. And again, that's kind of where my channel started out. I was learning and I was educating myself, and I felt like I had to speak out. So that's why I had the channel in the beginning from when I first went vegan. And that's why a lot of it is kind of anti keto, funny enough. And not funny how the world works, and then I end up going basically keto. But you have to eat enough on these diets. You have to listen to your body. You have to kind of let yourself even out. Okay, you have to make the decision, and just stop buying the junk. Just make that commitment. If you're going to eat junk, it needs to be a special occasion. It needs to be out of the house. It needs to be, again, kind of at least, and you can have different levels of treats. I always recommended that. Like, you have every weekend type of a treat, a level, that might be level 1 for you, or level 2, a level 1 might be a daily treat. And then you would have a treat that you could only allow yourself maybe and they could be for different reasons. You could have like unhealthy treats that you only allow yourself that for health reasons, money treats where you're only, maybe sometimes they're both, because a lot of times, you go out to eat or something, it's more expensive and it's not that healthy for you. So you save those for, the lesser, even lesser and lesser times, a couple times, every other week, or a few times, once every few weeks. But that way you get in the habits of Monday through, Friday. Again, that's your 80% right there. And then 20s is the weekends. That's how you start off. And I remember we did that for a while. We were kind of like vegan. And I was having my kids, for a while we'd be vegan through the week with our meals and have really good routines and staples and good habits. Back to the habits, good habits. And then on the weekend, you go off and you splurge. And then you allow yourself to eat out or, splurge on something. And that's how I did it for years. Again, worked pretty well. Okay. So, but yeah, you just kind of make a choice, and you kind of make a choice again that this is going to be a lifelong process. This is not going to be, you never want to do like a challenge or, oh, let's just do this crazy thing. Let's do 75 hard, or, like, I'm really against those type of things, because if it's not sustainable, don't do it. Okay. If you go crazy, you're going to, even like I did with the overtraining, I preach sustainability all the time with like diet and stuff, and I even preach it with working out, but I was not listening I did not listen to my own advice there. Okay. But when you make a choice to consistently get better, and decide that the way that I'm going, my life is consistently getting better. I'm choosing to live my best life and get better and better and better throughout my life. So that it is going to not only go for maybe these financial goals, or maybe these career goals, or whatever, or maybe my relationship goals. That's going to go for my health and my body and my fitness as well. We're going to be one of those people who's getting stronger with age. And that's why we don't have to rush it. We just know that. We know that we're going to do that. Start to think long term. And that's what I want to get into as we get to the end here, because we've had kind of our short term goals and our, it's good to have your list, for the day, which is your goals for the day. It's good to have weekly trackers and goals. It's good to have monthly trackers and goals. And every time the end of the week hits, you're doing a lot of reflection. The more reflection we can do on our lives, it helps us to process, helps us to get better and move on. So you reflect at the end of every day. You reflect at the end of every week. You reflect, and you could take time to meditate at that time to see what ideas come to you, see what's on your mind. If you have issues, you choose to do the shadow work. If you have deeper issues, you go over here towards inner child healing program. If you have goals you're trying to hit, you go to the holistic law of attraction program or mindemo body, and you work these programs. Okay. I'm in the middle of, look at this, I'm on a freaking mattress here because I've got so much change going on in my life right now. Moving back upstairs, back to my old room. My son's moved out. I'm starting a new job. I just got the summer off. I mean, wow, like all of these changes all at once. My life is a little bit chaotic right now. That's why you're looking at a mattress here. But I still sometimes you got to get stuff done, right? You just got to decide I'm going to do it. And this needs to be said. This needs to be shared. If I don't share this, I'm withholding information that can help people. That's how you get passionate about whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's why you only do things that are pure intentions. That's why you're walking around with pure intentions daily, because then you know the angels and God and everybody else, everything, other good energies that is God approved is going to be on your side, right? That's how you know, because you're on that same frequency. You're working with them. You're allowing the presence of God. You're allowing God's will to be done through you. Can I get an amen? So, don't focus on any one thing too much. Don't try to push things too hard. Focus on the balance. You want to be a little bit flexible, not just with stretching. Stretching's great. It's not just about being flexible. It's about the health of your joints and your, the functionality of your body. Okay. And it can help prevent injuries as well, and promote relaxation. A lot of reasons for that. Again, you want to get your list in. You want to get your medium, your high intensity. Okay. You want to get your massage and your recovery in. Lots of rest. I can't believe we're 29 minutes in and I just mentioned rest. Oh my goodness. Treat your body like a preschooler. Okay. And I kind of I've always said that for the longest time. And then when I got into kind of some intermittent fasting, I was kind of like, wait a second, you need to shock your body. Your body needs that stress, but guess what? That's the variety. That's homeostasis. Homeostasis is like the seesaw. You got to have the wobble. If you don't have the hands to wobble this way and that way, you would never even be able to stay in balance. You would follow, I mean, you gotta go with the wobble. So yeah, not overtraining, big one. One thing, and two, kind of allowing everything to happen and not overtraining. Don't make it, made myself sick by overtraining before, and over dieting. You can really throw your body out of balance, and different problems that you have will actually come out to the surface if you overdo it, if you try to do too few calories too fast. I always recommend a very mild calorie restriction for the long term. Slow and steady wins the race. You can try to, okay, maybe have a short goal. Again, short fasting, short, maybe like cramming in before an event, but only for like a day or a half a day or two. Like, I mean, unless you're trained into fasting, you got to learn about fasting before you just go jumping into it. Okay. And even if you feel like you've learned a lot about it, I would be cautious with, especially women and the hormones, doing it too much or too steady. Okay. Overall, you want your body to kind of know, I'm going to get about this much food about this time. Okay. Short periods of restriction. Again, kind of a daily. I'm really big fan of daily. Do the 12, 13, maybe up to 15 hours of intermittent fasting. 17 hours again, if you're more used to it. Okay, that's a great fast. It's great for you. You can work it in, do 2, even 3 meals a day still at that point. And if you can work that into your schedule, that's usually going to be really, really good. Especially if you're not eating your biggest last meal right before bed. That's a mistake. Okay, so these are kind of just some tidbits that I've collected. Even though I do gotten more keto, more low carb, I do that in a way that is connected through the moon, through the cycles of my menstrual cycle, and all of it now is connected. And so I'll explain a little bit more about that in the next video, but just know that it's easier for me to almost just do a consultation with you and help you with your cycle and with your astrology. Again, there's a lot of elements. People ask me for tarot readings all the time. We can throw all this together if you want or whatever. I can help you out with, when you should be doing different types of working out, kind of create a little map for you, a little calendar for you, so that you don't have to spend the countless hours that it's taken me to figure out how to kind of do this stuff and set it up. And I've got all the resources right here. I'm ready to go. So I'm here to help if you need that. Just look at my link tree under coaching. So, I'll go ahead and wrap this video up. Have a great day. I will talk to you guys so soon. Bye.